Bartholomew gloated over the impaled night hound, mocking him for being all talk and unable to withstand a single attack. The demon lord's arrogance turned to confusion when he tried to pull his sword out and found it was stuck. The night hound had gripped the blade with his bare, bloody hand, holding it firmly. The night hound then asked if Bartholomew was sure he was all talk, as he began to focus his power, putting his red mana into his own dagger. Bartholomew's eyes widened in disbelief at the immense power coming from the night hound. He recognized the technique as the legendary Solid Aura, a skill only a true swordmaster could use, and he couldn't understand how his young opponent had become so skilled. Before Bartholomew could process this, the night hound unleashed his own ultimate technique, channeling the power through his dagger. He unleashed the Baskerville's seventh sword form, sending a storm of devastating red energy slashes through the chamber. The attack ended in a massive vortex-like explosion of red energy that blasted everything, sending shockwaves and gold coins flying across the vault. Watching from a safe distance, Dolores was completely stunned. She realized with awe that the night hound was much stronger than he had been during their fight against the demon Dantalion, and she wondered what could have caused such a big increase in his power. When the dust settled, the night hound stood ready, his red aura still swirling around him. His gaze was fixed on his opponent. Bartholomew, now heavily wounded and bleeding, had to use his sword as a crutch just to stay on his feet. The night hound saw that while Bartholomew had survived the attack by pulling his sword free at the last second, the demon lord was now very weak and could not take much more. Clutching his wounds, Bartholomew had to admit to himself that the night hound's earlier victories had not been a fluke. Despite his injuries, a defiant grin returned to Bartholomew's face. He began to taunt them, asking if they really thought they would get out of this alive. He explained that the vault could never be opened from the inside and was on a timer. Only when the hour was up would the doors open from the outside. He continued his threat, laughing as he described how his guards would swarm them the moment the doors opened. But his crazy laughter was cut short when Dolores, seeing her chance while he was distracted, shouted, "Holy light!" and hit him with a powerful blast of divine energy. The demon lord, caught completely off guard, could only scream in pain as the holy power covered him. Holding up the Mirror of Truth, an item that reveals the true face of anyone reflected in it, Dolores challenged the demon lord. She asked if anyone would believe his words once they saw what the mirror revealed. Bartholomew cried out in pain, stunned that she had such a powerful holy item. As the mirror's light grew stronger, the reflection of his human face began to melt, revealing the horrifying, demonic face underneath. With his disguise completely broken, Bartholomew dropped all pretense. A massive, terrifying grin spread across his newly revealed demonic face. With an amused and threatening tone, he said that their preparations were much more thorough than he had expected. His body began to change, his right arm swelling into a grotesque, monstrous limb with sharp yellow claws. He slammed the massive hand down onto the golden floor with incredible force. He grumbled to himself, annoyed. He had expected to deal with the night hound, but he never imagined that the Saintess of Quo Vadis would also be so involved, making the situation much more difficult. Standing beside the night hound, Dolores looked on in terror at the monstrous transformation. A twisted smile returned to the demon's face as he declared that things had just become very interesting. He announced that he would no longer hold back and would show these humans his true form. Purple, fleshy tendrils began to creep up his sword, Balmung, fusing the legendary weapon with his own monstrous body. His entire body shook and grew, muscles and flesh twisting as his power surged. Two large leathery wings ripped through the back of his clothes, opening to their full, menacing size. Not to be outdone, the night hound, Vikir, prepared for the next stage of the battle. He gripped his own demonic weapon, which transformed in his hand, growing into a massive, jagged red greatsword. Wasting no time, he swung the newly empowered blade, sending two huge slashes of red mana toward the transforming demon. The attacks hit their target, forcing the now fully transformed beast to its knees for a moment. However, the creature was far from beaten. It slowly raised its head, revealing a horrifying, wolf-like snout and a mouth filled with sharp, yellow teeth, all twisted into a vicious grin. A massive explosion of dark energy erupted from the beast's body, completely blocking the night hound's attack. The creature then let out a deafening, reality-bending roar. The force of the sound blast was immense, creating a powerful shockwave that sent both the night hound and Dolores flying backward. As the night hound helped her to her feet, a terrified Dolores stammered, unable to understand the monstrous creature before them. She asked if that was truly the real form of Bartholomew de Bourgeois. The beast, a horrifying mix of man and monster with massive wings, horns, and a wolf-like snout, glared down at them, its transformation now complete. The creature was, in fact, Belial, also known as the Sixth Corpse, an S+ rank danger. Belial is considered one of the 10 great calamities, an immortal natural enemy of mankind. An ancient text described its curse: "Teeth shall rot in thy body and thy house." As the heroes watched in horror, the vault itself began to react to the demon's presence. The mountains of gold coins started to tremble, and Dolores shouted a warning, pointing out that the gold was flying through the air and gathering around the demon. She watched in disbelief as the coins swarmed over Belial's body, magically healing the deep wounds the Night Hound had just given him. The demon explained its unique and terrifying ability, a power known as the Golden Veins. In a world ruled by wealth, he declared, financial power becomes true power. All the treasures in the vault were not just riches, but his very life force and strength. With a monstrous snarl, he made a horrifying boast. As long as wealth itself has value in the world, he could not be killed. And as long as he was surrounded by it, his power would continue to grow forever. The sheer hopelessness of the situation began to overwhelm Dolores. The Night Hound noticed her trembling with fear. He gently took her hand, calling out to her to get her attention. He told her that there was no need to be afraid. He reminded her of her own inner strength, recalling how she had overcome the demon Dantalion's mental corruption and awakened to her true power. To conquer her fear, he insisted, she had to believe in herself. Then, he made a critical request. He asked her if she could once again grant him the powerful buff she had used during that previous battle. Dolores looked back at him, her expression filled with uncertainty. Dolores thought about the soul resonance she had shared with the Night Hound before. She admitted to herself that she had tried many times on her own to repeat that power, but she had never succeeded. Clasping her hands together, she was filled with self-doubt, questioning if she could truly do it again when it mattered most. Her mind flashed back to all the times the Night Hound had fought fiercely against demons by himself. She remembered her own moment of awakening, and a new determination took hold. She knew she had to do what she could. She could not let him fight this battle alone. Her doubt was replaced by a firm resolve. A holy cross symbol gleamed in her eye as she swore she would not let the Night Hound fight alone ever again. Finding her courage, she stood behind him and stretched out her hands, declaring loudly that she would do it. As a brilliant golden light began to surge from her, she recited a verse, saying that the Lord was his shield and weapon, and that relying on his strength alone would only lead to defeat. She continued the prayer, her hands clasped as a holy light surrounded them. She called out for a mighty general to come forth and fight for her, asking for the warrior's sacred name. The ritual, however, hit a problem. She turned to the Night Hound, explaining that the buff would be much more effective if she knew his true name. He was taken aback, realizing he couldn't possibly reveal his identity at such a critical moment. Their moment of focus was shattered as the demon Belial, having already fully recovered, charged toward them. The Night Hound was shocked at the demon's incredible healing speed, but he had no time to react as Belial slammed a powerful elbow into his side. The force of the blow was immense, sending the Night Hound flying through the air and crashing hard into a mountain of gold coins. He lay on the ground, heavily wounded and bleeding from the chest, as Dolores cried out his name in horror. The demon, however, completely ignored its downed opponent. It raised its massive, grotesque arm, which had transformed into a giant blade, and took aim at the now defenseless Dolores. With a furious roar, Belial brought the blade swinging down, shouting for the Saintess to die. Dolores could only look up, her face a mask of pure terror as the killing blow came down upon her. This is the end of the video. If you guys want to see the next part, then don't forget to subscribe and like the video.